Chengdu really does turn to the next level against Philly in particular, huh? Half their wins this year are now against the Fusion, and this is a team that has historically gone very, very far in tournaments this year. This one was the worst stomping yet, in a meta that is pretty poor for Chengdu. How would they do it? Let's find out. We start out round 1 in an utter stomp in favor of the Fusion. As the same issues that plagued Chengdu against Seoul were exposed, Gaga was caught out of position early enough, and players were running around unable to keep him up. ZEST took advantage of that by rolling through the team. Pretty easy stomp. Leave got a few good shots in, but that was the only good thing. However, we roll out onto round 2, and JINMU is on a signature pick, the Pharah. Why this weird off-meta pick? Well, some contender teams have been using this as a way to offset the impact from the Junker Queen comp. It provides long-range damage to an otherwise very rushy comp, and her good concussion blast can move people out of position. So why don't most teams run her? Well, the lack of a Mercy makes it very difficult for the Pharah to get healing, and therefore makes her easy pickings for decent Sojourn or Ashe. Luckily, Leave is about to Sojourn diff Carpe like no one has ever Sojourn diff before. He picks Carpe literally within the first 10 seconds, allowing JINMU to just rain terror and just walk onto point. ZEST swaps to Echo to counter him, and it does work. He does kill JINMU the next 2 fights in a row, but the damage from JINMU is still there. He forces the Fusion under cover where they become easy pickings for Leave. Leave just deadlifts this map. He cleans up 3 kills in the second fight, hits a fat disruptor shot that forces Fusion to clear out and just get killed on the last fight. The man just goes God mode and shows he's still top tier. The Fusion just plays so disjointed here. They split up a lot in their rotations, they don't put themselves in good positions to follow up on ZEST's damage, usually just cornering themselves and getting picked off as they try to engage. Hunters respond with their own 100-0 sweep. Hunters roll in round 3 with no Pharah. Unfortunate, but the angles around the map and the low sightlines makes it difficult for the Pharah to get value here. However, Leave does roll out on Widow. See, this is why we love Hunters. They refuse to be meta slaves. Honestly, the Widow is likely just a comfort pick from Leave, but it does allow him to control a lot of sightlines and to shoot at the people as they try and rush the choke point without risking being part of the rush. The Infusion just decides not to challenge Leave for some reason. For the first 2 fights, ZEST waits until after Leave kills one of the supporters to challenge him, at which point the damage has been done and Fusion just falls over. Fusion try to mirror the Widow, but the Widow slows them way down in a position where Sojourn has already had issues getting value as a much faster hero, into a comp they were not prepared for. The Hunters just rush forward onto them after a very nice shutdown from Fusion, and they spawn camp, winning the point more or less 100-0. What we learned here is Leave is good at Overwatch. Now seriously, the Fusion did not play badly, but this is more or less what we've come to expect from the Hunters. They play wacky comps that force the enemy to make weird comp changes that throw off their game. They were unsuccessful against the Dynasty, but the Fusion played right into their hand, making those adaptations that fuck with their entire strategy. They were also just some abysmal plays from the Fusion. They dropped the spaghetti all over the place. Fury didn't get ult either of the last 2 rounds. Carpe really just didn't do much. His Sojourn is pretty weak, and they rely on ZEST way too much to be the more consistent part of the DPS line. And he does tend to deliver. But generally, if ZEST isn't hard carrying, the team falls over, as we've seen in the Valiant game. Can they turn it around in the next map? We start in Midtown. The Hunters have a rough time of it. They spend 3 minutes on 2 fights, which are split up by Carpe and ZEST carries. But then we get more spaghetti droppage from the Fusion. Fury splits from his team to Rampage only for it to get cancelled. The rest of the team come back and manage to confirm 3 kills. But Fury swaps to Doomfist to get back faster, and that makes it difficult for the team to come together and get a good rush in, leading JINMU to just pick off 4 members of the Fusion by himself, and they just take the point. They try to contest, but ZEST ults in the middle of the Hunters and gets melted. Carpe kills Initial later and gets Monk to 1. But Monk somehow survives after being chased by Fury and Fixa, and Leave somehow kills Fixa. Aimgod also invests the rally to try and keep Fury up after being Rampage, only for Aimgod to die quickly and get no one else with his rally. They're able to hold it second, but still an unbelievably messy round from the Fusion. We roll out to round 2 when JINMU is back on the Pharah. It's easier for Pharah to get value here, as it's harder for Carpe and ZEST to extend past the bridge and take him out, and he can't keep firing at the Fusion as they go through. ZEST goes Echo to deal with him, and they take point fairly quickly thanks to some heroics from ZEST. But we are back to some Fusion throws with awful ult usage. Fusion have a tendency to use both of their support ultimates at the same time. This is bad because then they have nothing to use for if the enemy engages them with an offensive ultimate. They get shut like Dragon Blade. They get shut down twice after using both support ults no avail. The first time, thanks to Leave with the overclock. Second time, they use both support ults to kill Gaga before he ults, only for Gaga to return quickly and finish off Fusion with a Rampage. And again, every single one of Fusion's fight wins are off the back of ZEST. If he does not carry, Fusion does not win. Fusion are held at point B, and Hunters are up 2-0. Again, I keep talking about this, but ultimates are really, really awful. Fusion have a lot of issues. Fury isn't a great Junker Queen. Carpe is not finding the picks they need and is getting gapped by Leave. Fusion split off way too much, but the ultimates are really the main thing. Chengdu is just so much better at spreading out their ult and making the best of them, whereas Fusion just blow everything at once, usually in an inoptimal position. Match point, they head over to Junker Town, subbing in MN3. I assume this is because they want the flexibility onto the Ashe, but still, subbing in a player at match point with no maps, not a good look. They try a different style from here on out. They play extremely aggressively, holding the Hunters at spawn at multiple points, successfully or unsuccessfully. They really run at the Hunters, who don't let up their aggression either. Before this, Fusion have never been especially aggressive, choosing to try and hold a specific point, but Hunters do a good job at capitalizing on mistakes and individually diffing the opponents. Here, Fusion opt to return the aggression, and it works to an extent. Hunters seem to be especially scared of MN3 compared to Carpe, though it may be harsh to say that. But whenever MN3 pops his overclock, they back off, killing their momentum, and Fusion use that opportunity to push forward. But whenever they push into the spawn is where it gets out of control, with Hunters usually able to get a quick pick or two, forcing the rush to turn back, and then Hunters ride that momentum to the end of the point thanks to some good aggression from the Hunters, to some abysmal positioning from the Fusion. And usually due to more bad ult usage from the Fusion. Really is just Fusion getting overly excited and greedy, going way farther than securing an area, like we saw, say, the Fuel do against Glads. I think the overly aggressive approach can work, but the Fusion don't play super well, especially against a scrappy team like the Hunters with the most brain-dead Genji ever, JINMU, who can just get a random pick away from his team. Trying to complete the round in overtime, and MN3 rolls out a spawn on Ashe. This is likely a way to slow the overall game down and put MN3 in a comfort hero, where he can make the use of the wide open space in his dynamites. However, MN3 goes back to Sojourn after ZEST dismantles Chengdu's attempted spawn camp. Nice. Philly more or less breezed through the first 2 points. Chengdu kind of fell apart after their first failed spawn camp, repeatedly failing to set up a coordinated push and stop the Fusion despite JINMU's best efforts. They were just so split up and uncoordinated that MN3 and ZEST could tear through the team. They roll into point 3 with 4.5 minutes, and they still fuck it up. Their focus fire is abysmal. Leave gets an early pick onto MN3, and Fusion completely split up to take him down, and Hunters just follow up on the kills. They come back and are very split up again, taking insane clutches from ZEST and Fury to win out the fight. The next fight, Fusion win again off of a clutch from Fury, as Aim God does his special, doing his ultimate at half health and dying with it. They get stopped by a good beat from Nish and good focus fire. Take 30 seconds to get to their last fight, get a good kill onto Leave, and can't do much with it because ZEST decides to ult alone in the middle of the enemy team and has to retreat. Hunters complete a 4.5 minute hold on the Fusion and win in a sweep. What a mess this was from the Fusion. Carpe is not doing enough in the Sojourn. He did not really punish JINMU's Pharah or get much final blows. This is an issue that plagued them against Valiant as well. ZEST more or less has to deadlift if they want any wins because neither MN3 or Carpe seem very good at the Sojourn, but he was always getting forced onto the Echo by JINMU's Pharah, and he did make some pretty poor decisions himself. I'd love to see them experiment more with Ashe, but this really was just Fusion not knowing their win conditions or being prepared. They couldn't deal with the weird hero swaps coming from the Hunters map 1, had a bad time following up on ZEST kills, and just didn't look at the Widow. Map 2 was more competitive, but awful ult usage and team cohesion, ult usage aside, the amount of times they were split up to chase down a kill was way too much. Map 3, they were over-aggressive and didn't know when to stop, despite Hunters able to keep getting picks. Fusion need to stop the double support ult in one fight thing, and Carpe was just getting hard gapped by Leave. I think the Hunters players played better today. Leave looked so much better. JINMU was pounding. Their coordination was still shoddy, and JINMU has the most brain-dead Genji playstyle I've ever seen, so I'm worried about them, but he was good. Gaga gets caught out of position too much, but he still managed to gap Fury. Just extremely concerning for the Fusion. This and playing Valiant way too close. They always get better as the stage goes on, but their coordination is all over the place. And if ZEST doesn't go absolutely berserk, they struggle to clean up kills. Hell, even when ZEST does go berserk, they still sometimes lose. Thanks for watching. Remember to hit like and subscribe for more. I upload nearly daily Overwatch League content, and I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of Season 5, so any subscription helps greatly. Thanks.